All right, so the next event, actually we have a fair amount of time for it, we have an hour and a half, is a panel set of presentations and discussions followed by a question and answer session. And the question and answer session might sort of migrate into the cooler place. We've tried very hard to find a group of people that would cover some of the things that Kathy talked to you about. No, we're not going to have a panelist talking about crime. We're not going to have a panelist talking about birds. For one thing, 1 million birds over San Diego, and I never saw one. But we'll talk to an astronomer, to a person who looks very carefully at the effect of artificial lighting on the human animal, and to somebody who's spent a lot of time looking at the solutions. Each one of them will just give a short presentation. Don't ask questions immediately, just make a note, keep your questions for afterwards. And we had also an astrophotographer, an artist, who was supposed to come, but nobody's seen her, so she may have been impeached. Really sorry about that. All right, the first panelist is Professor Fernando Avila Castro. I'm bad with names. He came all the way from Ensenada. He serves on the board of DarkSky International, and in Mexico, he's an astronomer. So in Mexico, there's 6 major observatories which are impacted or could be impacted by light pollution. So Fernando agreed to give us a presentation of what drives him to dark skies.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm really, really honored to be invited and be with you today. It's looking okay, it's a little blurry, or it's just me?
It's a little blurry.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I couldn't read the part, that part. That's not
Much, little better. Okay, just a little spoiler, I came with 2 hats today. I want to start with the astronomer hat, that's what the part of is astronomy. And then I'm going to put on the other hat, and that's beyond. So, okay, as an astronomer, we have quite a few things that... How do you move to the next one?
Page down.
Page down. In this, no, it's moving. And I thought that PDF was going to be easier. So let's start with astronomy first. So astronomers are a special kind of people. As you just heard with this bad joke, we like working at night. And the thing is that as astronomers, when we're trying to put a big observatory with all the instruments, with all the telescopes, sometimes can be a little difficult. Maybe you've seen this picture before. It's called the black marble. It's actually not one picture, it's a mosaic made with satellite images. They had to take a lot of images to assemble this picture because they needed to get rid of the clouds. And well, you have to see, okay, we have 10 pictures of this area, only one has no clouds. We select this, and we assemble the black marble, as it's called. And from here, one thing is obvious. You can see the cities very clearly where they are. And with the cities comes people, and with people comes needs, and with needs comes light at night, which are very easy to see from space. And astronomers, you want to get as far as possible from them. But then you have other challenges. You need precisely no clouds, or the less amount of clouds and humidity. So, okay, you see this picture, black marble, and you see these black spots on the tropics, the Amazonas, the rainforests in Africa, And yeah, okay, there's no light there, could work. Well, not really because it's raining all the time, you have humidity. So let's keep moving. Okay, on the other side, if you want dryness, let's go to the Saharan Desert. Not really. Australian desert also doesn't work. Because the main problem we have astronomers beyond lights is the air or atmosphere. So we want to get in places where we have the less atmosphere as possible. That means high on the mountains, about 2,400 meters above sea level is usually the minimum we try to get. And also not all mountains have steady wind currents. So we need the less turbulence possible. The atmosphere, it's a big lens we have on top. We can get rid of it, but we need to make it as clear as possible. So that leaves us very, very few places in the whole world that meet all these conditions. Away from city lights, no humidity, and the less turbulence in the atmosphere. By the end of the day, which is the night, we're gonna get only 4 places in the whole world, just 4. And all these places have concentrated most telescopes and instruments in the world. Of course, all of them are gonna share these characteristics. Actually, 2 of them are islands, Hawaii and Canary Islands. You can see it here and here. And the other 2 are on the Pacific coast, in the north and in the south. And well, the thing is that you just said you don't want humidity. Then why you pick islands and the coast? Well, the thing is that because our Earth is spherical and is rotating, we have the wind currents coming from the west to the east. So the wind current comes with the ocean, humidity, crashes into the mountains, because we're high on the mountains. And as the air is climbing up the mountain, it starts to lose velocity and humidity. So by the time it reaches the top of the mountain, the air is very transparent, what we call in physics a laminar fluid. So it's very transparent, very stable. Ideal for astronomy. And actually that gives us also other coincidence. For example, there's another coincidence beyond having astronomical observatories here in the north and here in Chile. The clue is precisely the site we're located today. Can you guess what other coincidence we have because this effect of the humidity staying down before coming out of the mountain? It's very local. We're surrounded by it. Eh?
Oh, wine.
Wine.
Oh.
That's why California, Baja California, Chile have nice wineries. Because all the humidity stayed on ground before going up to the mountain, where astronomers are happy, and the wine is making people happy down there. But yeah, that Mediterranean climate comes because of it. It's a consequence, and also why astronomers are located in these places. But the problem for astronomers is that because we have so few places, these 4 places are right now at risk. 4 of them are facing a lot of challenges, mostly because the population is growing up, their cities are growing up. And as I just said, there's nowhere else to go. There are places like South Africa, the China high ground, but the weather is not so nice. You don't have as much nights as clear as you want. That, for example, I'm going to tell you Dr. Quimby later why they pick Mount Laguna. But yeah, there's nowhere to go. And actually, the Mexican National Astronomical Observatory is a tale of running out light pollution. The observatory in Mexico is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, scientific institution in Mexico. Started in Mexico City, downtown, in what is called National Palace. City grew, then had to move to Chapultepec Castle. The city grew. Then it had to move to a place called Tacubaya, which by then was in the outskirts of the city. The city grew. It had to be moved to the Puebla state. Puebla grew. But then was the 70s, last century. That makes me sound so old. But well, in the 70s, now with the help of satellites, they decided the peninsula of Baja California was the best place. It had high mountains, this type of weather I was telling you, where the ocean sea breeze gets stuck below the mountain and on top is perfect. So they went there. It's been there, the National Observatory, for the past 50 years now. But as I said, if the population keeps increasing, the light pollution keeps increasing, where else do we go? There's nowhere. And this critical, as I was telling you, there was a study a couple of years ago that were using satellite data to measure the night sky brightness above the biggest observatories, the biggest telescopes. And well, I knew that the letters here wouldn't be visible, so I tried to select a couple of them that you might be familiar. SPM is San Pedro Martir, the Sierra San Pedro Martir, where the Mexican Observatory is located. And this is the critical line. This is what is called still a perfect dark sky. Below, you're okay. Above, you're polluted. And for example, one that is very familiar, that is nearby, that is Kitt Peak, is already crossed that threshold a long time ago. Another big observatory that you might know, Palomar, well, you can see the impact that Los Angeles, San Diego has had on it. The darkest one are in Chile. However, the problem is Chile is also growing, has a lot of mining industry, energy plants. Maybe you heard a few months ago they were planning to build a huge power plant about 40 kilometers away from one of these sites. And if they did that, and there's still the possibility, from being here, they're going to be here. And the thing is that Chile right now has one of the biggest projects with its telescopes, with 30, 40 meter telescopes, that, again, where else can you go? Nowhere. But this is the night sky brightness at zenith, right on top of us. When you take into account the brightness in the horizon, which you have the light domes of the cities, then you can see this picture again. A lot of places that look dark, you can see the light at the horizon growing and growing. Our place in Baja is starting also to get impacted. Not yet there, but it's getting close. Population in TJ, Ensenada, Mexicali, and yeah, even from San Diego, we can see it. But also we see the same story with Kitt Peak and Palomar. And remember I was telling you the first observatory in Mexico, in Chapultepec? Well, it's this last one. It was just put there for historical reasons, but you can see that being in the middle of a huge city that is Mexico has made it impossible. If you think this is bad news, it's actually worse. Because this data was taken by a satellite called BIRS, which helps us produce these kind of maps. This satellite takes the information that comes from the city, all the lights, sums up all the lighting. Then people can apply a dispersion model, because once the light goes upwards, it gets scattered, reflected by the atmosphere, and you can see how much impact it has on the surroundings. This was on 2012, and you might see, for example, here is Palomar. This is Laguna, and this is Palomar, and this is us in San Pedro Martir in Baja California. Over here you have Kitt Peak, this is Tucson, and Mount Graham, other ones, small ones. But yeah, that tells you how much impact it is, but that was 13 years ago. And well, by today, we can see that it has increased. And I was telling you, the problem is that using these models has a big problem. This satellite turns out is blind in the blue side of the spectrum. And now that we're transitioning to LED, white LEDs that have a peak on the blue, that means this is actually worse. Using this satellite underrepresents the magnitude of the problem. So yeah, astronomers right now are very, very worried everywhere. And to properly address how much impacted, we need to go in a multidisciplinary way. We not only need to rely on the satellites to take these measurements, which sum up all the light on the ground. You need to take data from the ground up, but you also have to take into account now the spectrum of the light, precisely because now that we have more blue light on the LED systems, which scatters more in the atmosphere, that means light ups like a bulb on top of the cities. So yeah, it's a problem. And to correct this satellite data, there was a big program from Arizona that you might have heard of it, called Globe at Night. Have you heard of it? And well, actually, I wanted to include this because using data from Globe at Night was used to produce another paper, but also because right now, July 16, 25, is the proper window to get more data. Some activity you can do later now that it gets dark. Take up your smartphone and get into Globe at Night and do your citizen report to get more data. Because using the data from Globe at Night to properly address how much light pollution we have, well, a simple phrase that helps us remember is that by now, 4 out of 5 people in the world can see the summer Milky Way because of light pollution. But the reality is much worse. That means that from 2011 to 2022, night sky brightness has increased 9.6% per year over this decade. That's measured by the instruments. The human eye, which has a different scale, is a logarithmic scale. That means for the naked eye, from 2011 to today, the brightness has doubled. If you can remember how much stars could you see a decade ago and now, it's going to be around half because the night sky has doubled this brightness. So yeah, all the data from Globe at Night was published in this paper by Kiva in the magazine Science. So yeah, for optical astronomy, it's critical. There's nowhere else to go. And that's why astronomers, if we want to address this issue, we need to go beyond astronomy. We need to reach out. We need to go into a multidisciplinary approach. And actually, the same magazine, Science, a couple of years ago, made a special edition addressing the problems of light pollution, which is interesting because, as you can see on the cover of the magazine, there are no astronomers, there are no observatories. There's a bird. Because light pollution has become so problematic that, yes, astronomers were given the canary on the mine, because with our instruments we were able to measure the increase of the night sky brightness, but now it's becoming so bright that it's affecting other areas. And that issue is marvelous, this science issue, because, yes, it talks about the effects on nature, on the ecosystems, on human health. Don't worry, I'm not gonna, I'm just addressing SPAT. Don't worry, I'm not gonna get into your field. And then it has several articles about it from several perspectives: astronomy, wildlife, human psychology, physiology. But also, what was best was the reference. As a proper science magazine, the references were beautiful. You go deep, and all the data has accumulated over the years. For example, among all this was what we were talking about, Kathy, before, how it's related to crime and the perception. And as DarkSky advocates, we know that the perception of safety and security is our biggest obstacle, our biggest challenge. And again, that's a topic for another talk or for the questions. So this is the moment when I take off my astronomer hat and put on the DarkSky International, being part of DarkSky since 2013, approximately. I've been the Mexico chapter leader since then. And for the past 2 years, I've been on the board of directors of DarkSky International. And well, this is the beyond part, because it's where we need to raise awareness. These events are great, but sometimes it's about preaching to the choir. Everybody's interested, everybody's concerned and aware of the problems. So we need to get involved with more people. As DarkSky International, it's not only about spreading the message, it's about calling people into action. It's not only about talking, it's about doing. Individual actions can't scale enough. We need more people involved. That's why these events, pulling more people to be part of the organizations, are phenomenal. That's why I really appreciate your invitation, Luisa, Doug, everybody. And yeah, we need to make alliances with the lighting industry. It's been wonderful working with them. A couple of years ago, I was invited by IES, but the Monterrey chapter in Mexico, to give a talk. And I was joking that I was the only astronomer there talking about dark sky and light pollution with an auditorium full of illuminating engineers. And I was joking that, well, if I don't come out alive, please tell my family I love them. And I came out alive, and with a lot of friends. Because precisely, when you make people aware there's an issue, and that is easily solvable, and that actually benefit them, you're going to get a lot of allies. You're going to get a lot of friends. You're going to get a lot of people involved working towards the same solution. DarkSky has been a lot of work in this area. You've seen all the flyers around. And precisely one of the messages of DarkSky International is get involved with biodiversity, with the energy consumption, the human public health. That is also becoming a problem, as Kathy was telling you, and I'm pretty sure we'll hear more about it later. But yeah, right now DarkSky International is going through a process of growing, restructuring themselves, because right now it's not only about preserving what we have. It's not only about preserving the dark sky places that they were telling you about that they have in California. It's also about taking back the dark. It's not only just preserving. If we really need to make a change, we need to take back what we already lost. We can sit passively waiting to something to happen. We need to go and get it. And for this, as I was saying, we need to talk about policy with government, 3 levels of government, city, state, federal levels. We need to talk about the industry. We need to talk about with consumers. We need to talk about people that buy the lights, with the people that build and design. Tell them, hey, there are better options because, well, demand creates a market. If we start demanding better solutions, the market will offer them and we'll have more options. And it will get cheaper even. So yeah, we need to get involved in that too. There are a lot of changes in DarkSky International. You know the programs we have, certifying lights, certifying parks. There are changes coming for the certification of dark sky places. We're going to streamline it to make it easier, to make it more accessible, to get more dark places, to get dark places near to you. And yeah, and just finishing, because we have a lot of questions ahead, I'm pretty sure. I could finish with this painting, very famous painting. I'm pretty sure you, all of them know it. How's it called? Starry Night. I mean, come on. And I usually make this question. It's a rhetorical question, asking about if Van Gogh lived today in the cities we have created. Could he get inspiration to create something like that? No, but I mean, I'm pretty sure to acquire right now. So I'm going to choose another Van Gogh painting to better illustrate the point. This is the painting Café at the Terrace by Van Gogh. And it shows a beautiful European cafe. We have warm lights. We have a canopy that shields the light. And as a witness of this nightlife, we have the stars. We can have the life, we can have wildlife, human life, nightlife. We can have the proper lighting, we can have the night. We can coexist. And we can do it. That's what we're going to do. It might take patience, we might have to be a little stubborn, but we can do it. And with this, I finish now. I'll give you the thanks, and let's go to the next speaker.